I was working at Messier Bugatti Dowty. It's part of Safran. I don't know if you know it. Anyway, it's somewhere in the countryside next to Po. And then I've done a master's degree in international relations and multi-level governance. And I've done an internship in London, and then I stayed there and received like a permanent contract and worked for like a year and a half. And now, since December 2019, I moved to France, and I'm working in a university as an European project engineer.
Okay, thank you. So I met Simona, I think it was about 5 years ago.
It was 2014, yes.
6 years ago, okay. And in fact, before I did this job, I used to work with a lot of students to find them internships and placements. So now, personally, I have quite a big network of previous students, stagiaires, etc. And this is why it's interesting for you to meet Simona, because she's a little bit older than you, but she's basically done all of the very similar steps and jobs and studies. And so she's now working, but she's not so old like me and been working for 10 years or something. So I was going to ask you to practice some questions. So now there's no particular order to this. I think I would just ask each person as I see them to ask a question to Simona. Or maybe, Simona, you can see the names of the people. Can you see that when you?
I can. Yes, I can see them. Yeah.
Okay, I'll let you select who you want to ask, and then each person can ask a question to Simona. Okay.
Okay. Well, the first person that I can see, and I'm really sorry for that to put you on the spot, but I can see here Jean-Pierre Clément. If you have a question for me, I'm happy to answer it.
What did you choose to do your degree subject?
Sorry, can you please speak a little bit louder?
What did you choose to study your degree subject?
Okay, so for my undergraduate degree, I studied sociology and French. So I had half of my studies were about sociology, and the other half were about French language, French culture, politics, history, and so on. So I received like a double degree, and then for my master's studies, I chose international relations and multi-level governance, and it was a master which had 1 semester in England, in UK, and 1 semester in France, and an internship that I had to do so I can get my diploma.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Catherine, do you want to name the next one?
Yeah, okay, why not? I'm going to ask Jason. Jason, can you hear us? No, Jason has run away as soon as I said his name. So Priscilla, can you ask your question? No?
I have a question if you want.
Yeah, okay. Somebody can volunteer then, yeah? I'll ask Augustin, thank you.
How do you hope to develop your career further?
Well, that is a very good question. A strong one. Well, at the moment, I'll tell you a little bit about my background of my career so you can understand better. So basically, the first proper job that I had after university, it was after I've done an internship in London in a consultancy that was doing evaluation for the European Commission. So in London, I started to work with a team that was working with the European Commission, and we were evaluating their public policies and whether they were doing the things right or not, and what recommendation we could give to them. And then currently, I moved a bit. I moved a bit from that area of evaluation, but I still maintain the European environment because now I'm doing European projects at the university in Normandy. So basically, how I would like to develop my career further. Well, right now, to be honest, I'm just trying to gather as much as experience as I can in the European environment, and then regardless if it's European projects or if it's like another subject, but I'm very interested in staying in the European environment, and then step by step, eventually, what I would like to do is to move a bit on the NGO, like non-governmental organization sides, and I'm planning to start volunteering a bit so I can move on that sector and maybe one day have my own NGO. But yeah, we're far from that. At the moment, I'm very happy with the European environment just because of my personal background, because I'm Romanian. So I've done my studies in UK. Now I live in France. So I'm very, very, curious, and I want to stay in an international environment.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. I got a question. First, it's a little bit personal. Which city in Normandy?
Sorry?
Which city you were in Normandy?
In Normandy, I'm in Caen.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah, high five.
That's great.
Okay, I got a second question. What can you bring to this position?
To what position? To the position that I'm currently in as a European project engineer, you mean?
Yep.
Okay. Well, what I can bring, well, first of all, in order to do European projects, you need to have like an international or European, not necessarily background, but you need to have this mindset, of doing something at a bigger level rather than just local or regional. And because I am originally from one country, and then I studied in UK, and then I moved to France, I think the fact that I've been around a few countries, and I've done my studies in the international relations side, and I've done an internship in London with the European Commission. So I think this would be a strong asset in my position, first of all. Second of all, obviously the English language, which it has to be spot on when you're working in European projects, because they're all done in English. Nothing is done in English.
Thank you, Simona. So I'll give you 100 euros later on, because just to say English is very important. Thank you.
Yes, no problem. Yes, I think there are more and more positions where English it's starting to be more and more important. So it's very important that you learn it good. And now it's the time as a student it's very important that you focus on the language and use it and practice it as much as you can. And yes, so my background, personal and educational, also the English language, and also just the mindset of really wanting to work with people from different nationalities, from different environments, with different backgrounds.
Okay, nice. Thank you for this answer.
If I'm not being clear in my answers, or if you want to add more, or don't hesitate, let me know.
Okay, but that's pretty good right now. So.
So let's try another person. How about Nicolas? Can you ask a question?
Yeah. What skill did you develop at a university, and what is the more important for you?
What skills did I develop at university? Well, I think in UK at the university I developed the writing skills the most because we have these very big essays to do every semester. And it's not that you have essays to do, but it has to be done in a certain manner, and it has to be very precise, and it has to be very well documented before you write something. And every information you write in your essay has to be backed up by resources. So I think that can be quite difficult at the beginning to get used with this idea that whatever you're writing has to be backed up by a source or by a book or by an article. But I think slowly, it's very, very important. And it's also important in the daily life, because right now, for example, like whenever I'm reading an article or whenever I'm reading a book, or whenever I'm coming across information on internet, for example, it makes you ask a lot of questions before you actually get to believe that information is true. And that's very important because you develop critical thinking. And it's very important for you personally, but also in the professional life to critique, but not necessarily in a bad way, but to develop, to put everything or most of the information under question, and to look until you think you got your answer and you're satisfied with what you got. So basically, this is the main thing that I learned from university, having critical thinking and also developing my writing skills.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, do we have another volunteer for a question?
Yes.
Okay.
What is your biggest achievement?
My biggest achievement. What can I say? Well, I'm still fairly young. I'm only 26 years old. I wouldn't say that I have one very big achievement in my pocket yet. But I think probably generally my background and having, for example, speaking 3 languages, which is my mother tongue, Romanian, and then English and French. For me, this is an achievement. And also having transited through Romania, UK, and France, I think it's also an achievement. So there is not one single very special thing that I have done, but generally the way I led my life up until now, for me, it's an achievement.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
How do you see yourself in 5 years after?
How do I see myself in 5 years? Well, hopefully still in France, because I like it here, and especially today with this great weather, hopefully it's gonna last. So I see myself in France, and what else? Well, more professionally developed, maybe moving, for example, right now I'm in a public sector, but I would like in 1 or 2 years to move in a private sector, because I feel like sometimes the private sector can be a bit more challenging, and it can make you develop quicker than you would in the public sector. So yes, I think that would be pretty much at the moment. I haven't really thought that far, to be honest.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Who can try next?
Me,
Me. Who's me?
Karen. Hello.
Hello.
Can you handle both? Can you handle both language?
What languages? English and French, you mean?
Yes.
Yes, I can. I think I can handle both of them, but it's also obviously sometimes it can be difficult, because, for example, right now that in the last 4 months I've only spoken French, So now when I'm speaking in English, it can take me a little bit of time to find again the fluency and, to speak without, stopping too often. And it's also the same in English. If I start speaking English very often without speaking French, then when I go back to French, sometimes it can be a bit difficult to readjust and find the words. But that is because neither English nor French are my native languages. So my native language is only Romanian. So I think whenever I'm going to speak in English, probably my French is going to be a bit less good. And when I'm going to speak a lot in French, my English is going to be a bit less good. But that comes, it gets better when you speak more and more and more. But yes, this sometimes is a struggle.
Oh, okay.
When
And how do you handle it? How do you handle stress?
How do I handle stress? Well, it's very what can I say? I think it depends on person to person, but what you can do, well, we all have stressful periods of time, whether it's studies or work, and we all think that it's never ending and so on and so forth. So what I'm trying to say to myself whenever I'm feeling very stressed is that I'm saying to myself, this is only temporary. Don't think it's going to take over your life, because it's not. It's only going to be for like a few days or a few months, and then it's going to get over. And I think if you have this thought in the back of your mind, it helps you feel a bit less pressure. Not that you're not going to feel stressed anymore, but you're going to feel a bit less pressure, and you're going to keep a bit of hope in you that, everything is going to be okay and things are going to go back to normal. This is what I personally say to myself. I think other people, they work differently. But yes, say to yourself that everything, when it's a stressful or a bad situation or period, it's only temporary and it's going to get better.
Okay, thank you.
And I have a question connected to Carol asked about languages. And so I wondered as well, because your native language is Romanian.
Yeah.
Actually, we don't hear in the news a lot about Romania as a country. It's not very high profile and in the news a lot here. Do you think that people will recruit you because you speak Romanian? Is that something that you can really also bring to a job? Is it useful for you?
Yes, and as a matter of fact, when I worked in London for the consultancy company, speaking Romanian as a language, it was actually quite important for them, because doing evaluation for a European Commission, you have to cover all the languages in the European Union, because you have documents available only in Romanian if you're doing an evaluation covering Romania, or only in, I don't know, Greek or Bulgarian or whatever. So I was actually quite surprised to see that my native language was actually quite useful, because I did have documents that were available only in Romanian that I had to read or evaluate, and the team was counting on me. So yes, it was a plus in London. Not that much now for the European projects, because everything is in English, or you have documents in French, but not necessarily documents in Romanian. So yes, that was an advantage, speaking a language that was not so common.
Thanks. Again, is there another volunteer?
Yes, I have a question. It's where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
So I think someone already asked me this question.
Oh, sorry.
But I can say it again, don't worry. As I said, so I haven't really thought about where I'm going to be in 5 years' time, but I would like to be to be still in France, and maybe to move from the public sector where I'm working now to a private sector. But apart from that, no, I don't have any big objectives, very strict ones or specific one that I set to myself. I think I'll just see how my career develops, and I'll take decisions step by step.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello again.
Hello.
Can you tell us about what do you like in your job? What qualities did you learn on did you get on your job, etc.?
Okay. So what I like about my job, as I was mentioning it before, I really like this European / international environment because in my job, apart from the fact that I get to use my English every day, maybe not speak it, but like writing and reading in English, it's still there, which is very important. I get to travel quite often. Well, not in this period, of course, but before and hopefully after. Going to Brussels or going to different conferences in Europe, which is, of course, very nice. And what I learned in the new job, for example, it was I didn't know much about the higher education system in France, universities and all this stuff. And this was an opportunity for me to learn more. And also about the public financing, the European financing for research, because what I'm doing now, it's the European projects that I'm working on now are part of Horizon 2020. I don't know if you heard about it, but it's like the biggest financial instrument of the European Commission that is funding research. For example, if you want to develop a research project or if you're a researcher, then you have a lot of instruments in Horizon 2020 that can help you, give you money to do what you like. So these were two aspects that I didn't know much about it before, and now I'm working with it. So yes, it was new knowledge, which was very good.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, so we've got about 5 minutes left. The people who haven't asked a question yet are Adu, Adrien, Jonathan, Priscilla, and Jason. If one of you wants to offer another question, please.
Yes. How do you work in a team?
How do I work in a team?
Yes.
Well, I guess it depends on the team. Right now at my current job, is not that. I mean, we do have a team, but we don't have that much the opportunity to work properly as a team because everyone is focused on different projects and different aspects. But at my old job, we were working a lot in a team, and I think it's very important to define what every member of that team needs to do and how everybody's work come together as a whole. So as long as you give clear instructions and you know exactly what you do and you know exactly how your work is going to fit the work of your colleague, everything should be okay. And you also need to listen to each other and to understand each other and to listen to more ideas, to everyone's idea, and to pick up the one that you think is going to suit the best your objectives and what you want to have as a final product. But yeah, there is a lot of communication and a lot of cooperation, and also very clear and defined objectives and tasks of each other, because it can easily, you can easily end up doing something that maybe someone else is already doing. So you have to make sure you capitalize on time. But yeah, I think that is how I used to work in a team.
Thank you.
If you don't have a problem, this would be my last question. Do you intend to return to your native country?
Yeah, that's another very good question. And sometimes I do think about it, but I don't have an answer yet. to be honest. I think generally I would like to know that yes, but in the same time, practically, I don't know if that's actually going to be feasible or if I'm actually going to have the opportunity to go back. It also depends because the reason why I came to France, not the only reason, but the main reason why I came to France is because my boyfriend lives here. So I don't know what are the chances of, I don't know, us going back to Romania and doing something over there. I never say never, but yes, at the moment it's not something we're talking about, but it's not something we're excluding either. It would have to, yes, I think it's not going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, cool. So thank you and good luck.
Thank you so much. Same to you.
And Simona, do you have any questions you want to ask?
Well, not particularly. Just if the students, if they want to share something with me, I don't know how everything is going. How do they find university?
I have a last questions, please.
Yes.
What is the biggest difference between the life in Romania and the life in France for you, for example?
Well, I don't. Maybe this is not very well known, but Romania and Romanian system is very similar to the French system. It's very bureaucratic, and a couple of hundreds of years ago, we actually copied a lot from you. So some aspects are quite similar, and I already knew them. The biggest difference, what is the biggest difference? Well, I don't know if it's that much. Obviously, yes, France it's way better developed than Romania, and you have way more facilities here and advantages and so on and so on. But I think both countries, they are quite traditionalist in their way. And I think in terms of culture and how we see things, I think it's pretty similar. It was a bigger shock for me to come from UK, where I spent 7 years, and I kind of like got used with their system and the way they think and the way they do stuff, which is very different to Romania. So coming from UK to France, it was that was a bit of a shock for me, because I already got so used with the way that English people do things. And when I came to France, I had a bit of impression at the beginning that I'm back to Romania, and I was like, wow, I need to go back to my Romanian roots now so I can integrate myself better. But that is a very interesting experience. And if you want to challenge yourself, go in a country that has no similarities to your own, and you will develop a lot of aptitudes, and it will help you a lot in the future. Even though you don't plan to stay there forever, as an experience, I would recommend it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I can say as well that it's interesting what you just said, your final comment, to go to a place that is very different for you, different culture, even if you don't want to live there and stay there, because you can also have that attitude with a job. Actually, sometimes it's a good idea to do a job, even if you think, no, I'm not going to stay here and do this all my life. It can sometimes really surprise you to do something that you think is not really your perfect job. In fact, I think a lot of people think that they have to be perfect the first time. They have to get the perfect employer, the perfect job, the perfect place, and it's got to be correct the first time. Sometimes it's like you can go and do something that's not really exactly what you want to do, but you still get something from it, something positive, and you learn something. And okay, you just work there for 6 months or 1 year, and then you move into something else. So similar. I can ask a question for Priscilla, because her microphone is not working. Her question is, what motivates you in your work?
Well, right now, what motivates me in the work is that coming in a different, environment with different culture and also with a different and a new topic for me, the research at the European level and financing for research and so on. That is motivation because it's something that I didn't know anything about it, so I'm still keen on learning and finding out and specializing myself in the subject. Apart from that, well, I think what else motivates me? I just really like the fact that I got to, because to be honest, when I started applying for jobs, I was kind of a bit of applying for jobs in France. I was a bit afraid that I'll end up doing a job that is completely different to what I've studied and to the experience that I had. And I was so happy when I found this one because it actually allowed me to use my acquired skills at university and at my old job, but also learned new skills. So the fact that I found the perfect balance for me, it's a motivation to keep going, because I know that in France, apart from Paris, in France generally there are not that many jobs with a European focus. So having found this in Caen, that was something which is very close to Brittany, where my boyfriend is. That was that was something for me very encouraging, and yes, it motivates me to keep going.
Thank you. So, are there any final questions? Or not? I think that's the end for today. Thank you, Simona, from everybody. Was really interesting to hear you, and good luck. Obviously, we hope you can, like everybody, continue to. I don't want to say go back to normal because things are not going to be exactly the same as before. But you know, I hope everybody here will go back to their jobs, their studies, their families, their hobbies. And thanks for participating. It's really interesting to hear you. If you want to come back to Pau, go and see the mountains, go to the sea, go to the Boulevard des Pyrénées. Just come and find us, okay?
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the invitation, and it was very nice you to stay and listen to to all I had to say. And I wish you all good luck the studies and with finding a job after. And honestly, don't be scared. Nothing can go wrong right now. Even if you think it's going wrong, it won't go wrong, and we still have the time to fix it. So that is my last advice for today.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, have a great day. Enjoy the sun today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.